The next issue we see in the book is the philosophy for compensating workers. And I think for the most part, this is a decision that higher management makes. And even then, if it's a unionized workforce, that's going to be part of a collective bargaining agreement. So typically for HR's response to this is perhaps to come up with options for management and to work with, and then also to create a system to track the compensation packages. In other words, metrics. It's just a simple accounting process that HR does, and it's typically what payroll is then hired to do. And payroll is often a subdivision of human resources. So in terms of the philosophy of how the company pays its workers through what maybe could be considered seniority or performance-based pay, it is complicated in a way that you want to make sure that you're paying the right amounts. You want to make sure that you've actually priced yourself in the market correctly. So again, this would be something that HR would come up with as far as data and opportunities, different possible systems for then management to make decisions on. So one thing I want to mention is points, a point system for compensating employees, for not so much compensating, but creating a system, a base for compensation of employees. A lot of companies will do this. They'll assign points to certain duties, certain levels of responsibility, and then that way they're trying to be fair to all the employees who are doing the similar work or even dissimilar work, to give them compensation based upon their performances. It is a complex system. It is something that can be done, but it takes a great deal of time. And you want to also create opportunities for the workers to provide feedback to make sure you have accurate data. So basically, your job in HR would be to come up with different processes, different approaches towards creating a base pay. How you rank them, how you give them points. There can be even classifications, so you begin to group certain workers together. The problem with classification I've seen is when you've got multiple plants, multiple places for the employees to work, and you begin to group one at one location and another and a different grouping at a different geographical location. Maybe you have one plant in Ohio, another plant in Washington State. And yet the employees in those groups are doing the same function, but you have a disparate pay scale and a pay system. It can cause a great deal of worker complaint and unhappiness, which then translates into lower productivity and performance by implication. So, what you have to do is create a system that tries to be fair. So however you rank it in terms of their duties, their tasks, however you give points to those, however you look at market pricing. So for instance, Ohio might be more expensive to live in than Eastern Washington. And so, there are aspects to creating a base pay that your employers, the higher levels of management are going to ask for to, again, keep the employees working and performing well. So again, watch how your data is collected. Make sure you're collecting accurate data and that you're getting details when you finalize your summaries. Want to mention in the next slide, there is this discussion of broad banding in pay range. Broad banding in pay ranges, and also creating pay grades. Grades are, if you're not familiar with this concept, grades are basically groupings that allow internal members in that group to move up horizontally without moving to a different pay grade. There is a way to incentivize people to work within a pay grade without having to incur additional cost of moving them out of that pay grade at a higher level of pay. Broad banding is also a form of or a gradient of pay grades in a way. You have fewer grades but more range within a grade, basically, and that way you don't move an employee out of a pay grade, moving them to a higher pay grade, incurring more costs for that individual's performance, but you allow them to stay within a more of a larger range, so that they can stay for a longer period of time, create tenure, and then move up in the pay grade level. So again, the book gives an overview here, but not a very detailed view on how to set up base pays.